in the healthy range, if you look at the science, it's actually not good for your health. So I'll just finish with one example. And this is an example I had with a client just yesterday, in fact. So his initial blood work showed healthy blood sugar within the range, and even within the optimal range that I would use. The true optimal range. And his HbA1c, which is a 2 to 3 month snapshot of your blood sugar. So a 2 to 3 month average, which is a better indicator than just glucose on its own, because that gives us a story of your tendencies for a long period of time. Now that too was also within the healthy and even optimal range, kind of the edge of the optimal range. So then what? Well, if it weren't for these symptoms, we probably wouldn't have done any further digging. But because he had so many red flags in these symptoms and an abundance of fat, particularly in the midsection, which, by the way, for men in particular, women too, but men in particular, is a red flag because it's more suggestive of visceral adipose tissue. More into that at a later time. But because of these other red flags, we decided to dig a little further. So we added fasting insulin and C-Peptide. Now, C-Peptide is a very interesting one. It's not used very often, even in the holistic space. Insulin, which is a great marker, obviously, of blood sugar and your insulin sensitivity, so how well your body is storing that energy. C-Peptide is a better metric because it has a much longer half-life. So kind of like the glucose versus HbA1c, C-Peptide is a protein fragment that's actually attached to insulin as it is released from the pancreas. And then it's released from that insulin, but it has a much longer half-life, but they're released in a 1-to-1 ratio. So long story short, it's a much better long-term metric. And it was very fascinating. After adding these markers, we found that, in fact, your body is fighting, it's compensating. So it's doing a very good job, and the body always does, a very good job at masking issues because glucose looks normal, HbA1c looks normal. But the insulin, but even more so the C-Peptide, showed us that the body is fighting really, really, really hard to compensate. So interesting stuff. This is something that, not bragging, because this is just stuff I've learned from folks far more knowledgeable than I am, but this is something that your family doc, frankly, probably never would have picked up on. They would have waited, and then by then it's almost too late. So with this C-Peptide, and then with the other markers we added, ALT, AST, GGT, which are liver enzymes. They're found elsewhere, but oftentimes liver. These were also elevated, which tells you, remember that blood is drawn, and so that's a marker of what's actually circulating in your bloodstream, which means that these, if they're high, they have gotten out of your liver. They've been released from liver cells for some reason. Liver damage. There's tons of damage in the liver because it's fighting so hard to keep up with the blood glucose by creating a bunch of insulin, and that causes liver cells to be damaged, and then it releases these enzymes as damaged proteins out into the bloodstream. And so we have also hepatic insulin resistance. In other words, early stages, this is what we picked up on, early stages of fatty liver. So if you think back to the beginning, this is something that, maybe probably would have slipped through the cracks most often. So that's a lot, I understand. It's just, I want to explain some of the method behind the methods behind the tools that we use. This is exactly why I created Health Levels. It's in order to provide you with all of these tools at home so that you can upgrade your health if you're frustrated with perhaps some of the other care or wait times or whatever it is that you are receiving. So it's about empowering you with knowledge and tools to make real changes to your health. And it's simple. I start with beginner, level 0, easy, simple to apply tools that absolutely anyone can do. And then you have the option to take that as far as you wish. Level 1, 2, 3, all the way up to elite levels if you're a coach and actually want to geek out, or you just keep it simple at these beginner levels, implement some tools, and you'll still experience some profound health benefits.